Welcome back. I'm Janika, and this is Talking Points. Mr. Ellis, straight to you. Before we left, we were discussing, I don't know how we ended up on this topic, but we were discussing the move of Mr. Vaughan Lewis. And his movement was a very interesting one, I think, in our national timeline. So can you continue with what you were saying?
Well, just to backtrack a bit,
yeah.
The fact is that Vaughan Lewis was the leader of the party. He was chosen to head the party by Sir John, and there were probably rumblings in the party that caused some dissension, and therefore Sir John felt he should come back in to take back his party, and therefore he contested an election for party leadership, and Vaughan Lewis lost, and then indicated publicly that he was pushed rather than whatever. And I felt very bad about that, because I think that he should not have contested the election if he was a wise fellow. I would give it back to Sir John.
Or not have contested if he wasn't prepared,
to
lose.
To lose,
yeah.
And then what happened? He crossed the floor. He went, technically he went over with the Labour Party. And I thought that when you take the chief, the man who was leading the party for so many years, and then moving him over. Although I heard Vaughan was always Labour, I don't know how true that is.
His family was.
Yes. Good.
Yeah, the father.
And then, but the point I wanted to bring earlier is that the United Workers' Party had always commanded the greater respect from the people of St Lucia.
Your opinion?
In my opinion, okay. In my opinion, I take that back, because I hope you give your opinions too, and make it your opinion. Because here's a case where Sir John had contested election, got 9-8. He wasn't happy. He felt he wasn't happy. He couldn't manage. He went back and he got 9-8 again. And then he said, "Okay, I'll work with that." And then we had a situation.
No, that's 1987, and he
had
the
crossing
of the floor.
Yes.
Shut them all. Then they start moved across to give him a 10-7.
Yeah.
Okay, but he got the 9-8.
Yes,
and then they got 10-7.
Well, they might move in.
You're giving a skewed view of history right now.
I think it's accurate to say that Sir John, after the second election, when the result was the same, he decided not to use his privilege to call a third one for a different result. Whatever happened subsequent to that, again, we come back to the parliamentary shenanigans.
Continuing. Kenny Anthony came in.
Yeah.
He got 16-1.
Sure.
And then
within 10 years he was out of office.
He was out. Then there was always a problem within the UWP that caused the public, the electorate, to favor the St Lucia Labour Party. That was in the last election, and then they brought back Kenny Anthony, because remember, Dr. Kenny Anthony was labeled as being arrogant. He was doing a lot of things that and didn't have to answer to the people. And he came back and he said he was sorry, and he was in purgatory and that kind of stuff. And then he came back, and the same thing happened all over again. And now the United Workers' Party is there with a change. By then, Sir John had passed away. Stevenson King, Honorable Stevenson King, had a chance. They had new elections. Their new leader came about, and this is again an interesting point I want to make. The fact is, there's always within the Labour Party, within the UWP, a question of somebody wanting to be leader. Because remember, Romanus Lansico felt, from what I understand, that he should have been favoured rather than Vaughan Lewis, and that's part, of course, the rumblings. In the case of Mr. Stevenson King, the party was open for persons to challenge, and Mr. Alan Chastney put in his thing, and he won. He got the majority. The people decided who they wanted leader, right? And that is the important thing to note. But there was no particular challenge for Dr. Kenny Anthony. That was publicly known. I don't know if there was behind the scenes, but I want to say there was no public announcement that there was a challenge for leadership within the Labour Party. It took a general elections to ouster Dr. Kenny Anthony, and you talk about facts, right? It took a general election to ouster Kenny Anthony for him to decide he's going to step down and merge. Mr. Honorable Philip J. Pierre could only act for many years.
Let us bring the discussion back to the question of ideology. Given what has happened in our history of the crossing of the floors and so on, do we think now, and given that we all agree that there's been a move to the center by both parties, do we think that now, especially with the events of post June 6th, which I think will be looked back upon as another pivotal, just like 1997 was, I think that the 2016 election is going to be looked at as a point of inflection in St Lucian politics. Do we think that the parties now have to do more to differentiate their ideologies from each other? Do we think that this is something that is going to happen naturally as this administration's term plays out? Or do you think that the parties have to deliberately set out to separate themselves once again, in terms of where they fall on the ideological spectrum?
I think the United Workers' Party is not really moving towards center. If anything, at this point in time, I think it is appearing to be a lot more of what it began as, which was a party of the business class.
So you're thinking that the realignment that I'm speaking about is already happening?
I think thanks to the current leadership of the United Workers' Party, that has happened. And again, we cannot underscore enough how the ideology, quote unquote, of any party is being driven by the leader at that time. I think we're seeing a lot more of that type of focus right now, in terms of the policies that you're seeing, in terms of how the party is going around operating. And so I think it's becoming a lot clearer for a lot of people, the electorate right now, a difference between the Labour Party and the United Workers' Party, most certainly.
Do you agree with that?
I think that based on what Mr. George says, I think that St. Lucians, the average person, has become more business-minded as well. And that is where they're seeing that the government is leading them to take a greater part in their own financial affairs, becoming more responsible financially, business-minded, and that is a shift, a dramatic shift from the Labour Party.
So you're saying the electorate as a whole is shifting in terms of its ideology?
They realize that they have to become more independent. They have to be able to see business. If you look at what's happening with the advent of the internet, with the advent of social media, they can get more information. They can be self-empowered. They don't really have to depend on handouts. They will determine, well, I want to go into this business, that business. I see a number of people driving around. Take for example, you go to the cemetery. Yesterday I was at a funeral. You go to the cemetery, there's somebody there with a truck with selling drinks and so on. And that same person decide, well, the services at the Catholic Church in Gosley, they found itself out there. So people go to church. I'm just showing you the idea of a small person deciding to generate their own business, surviving. Right. That is the trend that's moving.
And that is because of the advent of the
that's
Workers'
nothing to
Party?
do with what is going on right
now.
You just said. No.
Hold on. Before we get into a discussion, I wanted to find out from you, Mr. Ellis. So you've spoken about the ideology of the electorate as a whole. Mm-hmm. So do you think that the United Workers' Party is moving with the electorate? Do you think, or how is that happening? Is it that the United Workers' Party, as Mr. George claims, because of the leader, has adopted a more conservative or more business-focused approach, and the electorate, because it itself is moving in that direction, has embraced the party? Where is it? Is it the chicken or is it the egg? I guess is what I'm asking.
The people are realizing that they have to be self-efficient. They have to develop their own business. This is why the party said we want. Look at the STEP program.
Who's leading that change? Is it the electorate asking for a more conservative party, or is it that the United Workers' Party becoming more conservative and then attracting the electorate?
Well, the party, the United Workers' Party, had indicated a change, and in that indicating a change for the general election and become into the government governance of St. Lucia, they are ensuring that people are not really depending on handouts. They want everybody to start to generate their own business and develop.
Yeah, but where are the programs for that? They're in over here. Where are the programs for people to develop their business?
But Peter, before
No, but you
I
can't,
want
no,
to
but you
ask
can't allow him to get away with that.
hold on, I want you to tell me.
No, where are the programs that as you say,
Before we
developing the
get into
business?
that, I want you to tell me your opinion on whether you think it is true. Whether you think, because before you ask for the programs, I want you to tell me whether you think it is true what Mr. Ellis is claiming, that the electorate on a whole is becoming more conservative. Do you think that is true?
I don't think so. I think the United Workers' Party used a lot of subterfuge, as far as I'm concerned, to win that last election. Okay, and I have about 50 different reasons I can outline, but time will not permit. I mean, look at the gas issue. You understand? I mean, you actually go on and have a march on a falsity, right? Claiming that the last Labour government was making $6.80, right? On the Ghana gas, which up to now, a year into their reign, they cannot prove.
No, but what
right?
happened
And then,
after
hold on. I have the facts on that.
No, you bring it up.
No, do not.
What happened
No,
immediately
I'm just
after the
telling
match?
you. Right? There was a change in the passion mechanism.
What happened?
That's all that happened.
Right.
A change in the passion
And the price went
mechanism, right? Okay? But they marched on a falsity, right? And they brought out thousands of people.
Couldn't that have been done before the
No,
match?
what I'm saying to you, they brought out thousands of people and something that was false.
Couldn't that have
right?
been done before the match?
And people were not paying attention
If I
to
may.
what was happening. And because of that, so it's not a question of the
The price went down immediately after the match. Couldn't
The
that have
price
been
went
done
down
before?
was the
That had
premise
nothing to do
correct?
with. It had nothing to do with
Maybe,
the
but
match.
the
Price
price
went
went down
down.
after the match.
But was the
Right.
premise correct?
No,
But I think we're
it's
straying
also-
away
it's
from
also
the
possible. He knows that.
question.
He knows that.
the issue. I
The
think
question is whether the electorate themselves
Well, that's what I said.
have
no,
moved in
that
ideology.
is not what has happened.
What has happened is that you have had a number of people, yes, who have moved out of poverty. We've had a reduction in poverty in this country thanks to the Labour Party. You're now seeing a lot of people who are starting small and medium enterprises. That is a reality, micro enterprises. But you're not seeing this government supporting that. What you're seeing is this government supporting big business. You're seeing this government supporting external business. Other companies coming from the outside who are now being given, and so you're seeing a huge amount of vertical integration, and particularly in terms of the tourism sector. And you're seeing that where you had protections, for instance, for certain operators. So let's say, for instance, your taxi and tour operators. You're now seeing a desire to actually give incentives to the hotel companies, the resorts, to now provide those same services. And you're going to have a serious problem in this country because of the way that this government is going.
I'm just making the point that the ideology that you're seeing right now is a pro-big business ideology. And it has nothing to do with, we're also seeing the dismantling of state institutions that have played a critical role for fishermen, for farmers. We're seeing ideas of privatizing the national printery, which is only going to end up meaning that the government is going to cost more in terms of its whole printing
Where
operations.
have we seen such ideas?
Well, we've heard it.
Privatizing the national printing, I don't know.
Oh yes, you should listen to Rick Wayne and the Prime Minister on the show, and you will hear about that. You're hearing about issues, all sorts of issues about dismantling entities, selling of government assets in the interest of big business. And we are witnessing this. I mean, even from the United Workers' Party in the past, you did not see those types of actions. But in this current United Workers' Party government, you are literally seeing a very big business orientation, and it is not going to be for the benefit of anybody in this country, for the working class people of this country.
So, Mr. Ellis, I mean, before, at the beginning of our show, you chastised me for using that adjective, laissez-faire capitalism. If what Mr. George is saying is correct, wouldn't it mean that the United Workers' Party is, in fact, pursuing a very loose regulatory market-based approach to the economy?
Janetta, when you listen to Mr. George and to some extent Mr. Alexander, you tend to forget what the United Workers' Party found when they entered the government on June the 6th. And everybody wants miracles, this government has offered change and prosperity and so on and so forth. But let's not forget, the country is in dire mess. the statutory bodies that the Prime Minister clearly outlined why some of those things have to change. And even it has been recommended in other countries, as we refer to other countries. Radio St Lucia, the St Lucia Fisheries Corporation, the amount of money that government has to spend for these agencies, and we still need things in the casualty ward at Victoria Hospital for the average poor person. So this government is not shy on telling the people the reality of the situation. A lot of things that have come out to the public, including
Audio Labs, maybe?
all of
that
the
needs to give
all of the-
to a foreign company.
all of the
Yeah,
stuff.
sure.
Including
We're so
DSH,
short of money,
chemistry.
but we're giving all
Yeah.
sorts of money away to foreign
And we're
companies.
spending almost $1 million
But
on-
gentlemen, let
because
Mr. Ellis finish his
because we're forgetting that the Grindberg situations actually tie up the waters around St Lucia. That costs more than any of the projects.
There's nothing tied up.
There's nothing
No,
tied.
and the
That's
millions
misinformation.
of
That's
dollars
misinformation.
Yeah,
and the millions
That's
of dollars are
misinformation.
spent in legal fees. They will deny it. As I told you, they all.
No, but that's not
But
true.
Ellis,
That's not true.
It's
Let me,
true.
I
It's
don't
not
want,
true.
I don't want
That's
you
not
to
true.
think that I'm
Yeah.
cutting you short,
No.
but of course in the interest of time, we have to
Yeah,
wrap
but let
up.
me thank
We
you.
have to wrap up.
Let me thank you very much. This is an interesting debate. I didn't think that I was going to come here to face the Labour Party in these two individuals. I didn't think that.
That's your choice.
I would have brought my deputy as well. But I can stand on my own because I know the facts are, and the people of St. Lucia are seeing the facts, they're hearing the facts, and they know the truth.
Yeah.
And a lot of the
Alexander.
projects
And the
have
truth
been-
will come back and
I,
haunt you.
I thank you. It's all for the future to tell whether this part.
Well, this
government
is the
going on.
record, and we can always come back to make sure that we were correct and that we can challenge the record that is
That's
being
right.
laid down here on Talking Points. Mr. Alexander, our next show, I will be sure to allow you some time for closing remarks. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and so that is all we've got for this episode of Talking Points. I would just like to thank Mr. Lionel Ellis, Mr. Peter Alexander, and Mr. Calix George Jr. for another excellent discussion. Come back and see us on the next episode of Talking Points. I'm your moderator, Janika Simon, wishing you goodbye.